Reincarnation is one of humanity's oldest and most enduring beliefs, appearing in myth, philosophy, and religion across the world. At its essence, it suggests that the soul or consciousness does not perish with the body, but instead returns in another form, in another life. In Hinduism, the Bhagavad Gita compares this process to changing garments. The soul discards one body and takes up another. Buddhism, though distinct, also speaks of rebirth in the endless cycle of samsara, where actions and attachments shape future lives. In Western traditions, reincarnation is less central but not absent. Plato, in his Phaedrus and Meno, described the soul's eternal journey and suggested that learning is the act of remembering what was known before birth. In mystical Christianity, some early sects believed in forms of rebirth before the doctrine was deemed heretical. Literature reflects this fascination as well. Dante in the Divine Comedy hints at a cosmic justice unfolding beyond earthly time, while Hermann Hesse's Siddhartha reimagines spiritual rebirth as both literal and metaphorical. The idea's persistence reveals humanity's profound desire to believe death is not an end but a transformation. Some interpret reincarnation literally, others as a metaphor for personal renewal and growth. But in all forms, it challenges us to rethink identity, destiny, and moral continuity. Why do we cling to this possibility so strongly? Perhaps because it promises that nothing is lost and that every struggle or joy contributes to a larger, ongoing story. Modern psychology even echoes this in the language of reinvention, suggesting people are not fixed beings but evolving selves. In this way, reincarnation resonates beyond religion. It becomes a mirror for our hope in continuity. Whether we take it as fact, philosophy, or poetry, it offers a framework for exploring meaning beyond a single lifetime. This video asks, is reincarnation a comforting illusion, a hidden truth, or a reflection of our longing for justice and renewal? Reincarnation is not confined to one culture. It has deep roots in many of humanity's oldest traditions. In Hinduism, sacred texts like the Upanishads and Bhagavad Gita affirm that the soul, or Atman, is immortal and continually reborn until it reaches moksha, or liberation. Karma governs this cycle, linking present actions with future births, weaving morality into the fabric of existence. In Buddhism, the emphasis shifts from an immortal soul to the continuity of consciousness. The cycle of samsara, birth, death, and rebirth, is seen as a prison of suffering, with liberation through enlightenment as the ultimate goal. Ancient Greek philosophers such as Pythagoras also taught about the transmigration of souls, believing that rebirth allowed the soul to learn and purify itself. Plato's Republic includes the myth of air, a tale describing souls choosing their next lives after judgment. Among the Celts, warriors believed they would be reborn, giving them courage to face battle without fear of final death. Indigenous traditions, too, often reflect cycles of renewal. Many Native American and African cosmologies emphasize that ancestors live again through descendants or in nature. The universality of these beliefs points to a human instinct to see life as circular rather than linear. Why does this pattern appear everywhere? Perhaps because the natural world, seasons, harvests, and the rising and setting sun constantly models rebirth. Literature reinforces this pattern. In Hermann Hesse's Siddhartha, the river itself becomes a symbol of the eternal flow of life, carrying souls and moments endlessly forward. From temples to oral traditions, these ancient teachings remind us that the soul's journey is bigger than one lifetime. The belief in reincarnation, then, is less an exotic idea than a deeply human one, rooted in observation and wonder at the cycles of existence. One of the most compelling appeals of reincarnation is its promise of justice that transcends a single lifetime. In Hindu thought, karma ensures that every action, whether good or harmful, has consequences, even if they are not experienced until another birth. This idea satisfies a deep human need for fairness, suggesting that suffering and reward are never random but linked to moral order. In Buddhism, rebirth is similarly tied to ethical behavior, though the ultimate aim is not to accumulate good karma, but to transcend the cycle altogether. Plato, in his Myth of Air, described souls who, after death, experience consequences for their earthly choices before selecting new lives, emphasizing responsibility across lifetimes. In literature, Dostoevsky's The Brothers Karamazov explores the haunting question of whether suffering can ever be justified, and reincarnation offers one possible answer. Suffering may serve a larger purpose beyond what we can see in one life. The attraction of this belief is evident. Without reincarnation, injustices often appear permanent, but with it, every life is part of a longer unfolding story. Yet modern science, with its insistence on empirical evidence, challenges whether this is truth or metaphor. Are stories of past life memories and karmic justice evidence of a cosmic law, or projections of human desire? Still, even skeptics admit the moral beauty of a worldview that insists nothing is wasted and every act matters. Psychologists sometimes reframe this in terms of growth. Even if lives are not literally repeated, human beings reinvent themselves, carrying lessons across seasons of one lifetime. The theme of justice across time continues to resonate because it allows us to trust that the universe is not indifferent but meaningful. Could reincarnation simply be our way of grappling with life's unfairness? Or is it pointing toward a reality that science has not yet measured? This tension keeps the conversation alive across faiths, philosophies, and generations. Hinduism offers one of the most detailed and enduring frameworks for understanding reincarnation. The soul, or Atman, is believed to be eternal, moving through countless births until it reaches moksha, liberation from the cycle. In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna reminds Arjuna that the soul cannot be destroyed. Death is only the shedding of a body, like a person discarding worn clothes. Karma, the law of cause and effect, is central. Every thought, word, and action plants seeds that ripen in future lives. This cosmic moral system ensures that nothing is forgotten or meaningless, weaving ethical order into existence itself. The Vedas and Upanishads deepen this teaching, presenting reincarnation as both a burden and an opportunity, a way for the soul to grow through experience. Liberation, however, comes when one realizes the unity of self with Brahman, the ultimate reality. Literature has echoed these themes. Hermann Hesse's Siddhartha, though not Hindu in doctrine, is deeply influenced by Indian spirituality, portraying life as a path of repeated lessons and eventual awakening. The idea of rebirth also connects with nature. Just as a tree grows, dies, and returns through seeds, so too does the soul. For Hindus, reincarnation is not merely an abstract concept, but woven into everyday practice. Rituals, prayers, and moral choices all reflect this cosmic law. What makes this belief so compelling is its combination of personal responsibility and spiritual hope. If you suffer, it is not meaningless. If you strive for good, it shapes your future. And ultimately, liberation is possible. A promise that the cycles of rebirth are not endless but purposeful. The Hindu view thus offers not just a cosmology, but a roadmap for life. Buddhism reframes reincarnation in a striking way. Unlike Hinduism, it denies the existence of an eternal soul, emphasizing instead the continuity of consciousness. The cycle of samsara, birth, death, and rebirth, is driven by craving, ignorance, and attachment. In this view, what continues is not a permanent self, but patterns of energy, habits, and karma. The Buddha taught that liberation, or nirvana, comes when we break free from this cycle by ending desire and realizing the impermanent nature of all things. In the Dhammapada, he describes life as a burning fire, and rebirth as the fuel that keeps suffering alive. Literature has captured this Buddhist view as well. Hermann Hesse's Siddhartha depicts the protagonist learning through countless experiences until he achieves inner peace, reflecting the cyclical journey toward enlightenment. The Buddhist perspective offers a paradox. Life repeats endlessly, but release is possible through awakening. Some schools of Buddhism, like Tibetan traditions, add intricate layers, teaching that rebirth can take place in countless realms, from human lives to divine or even hellish existences, until wisdom is achieved. For many, this provides a cosmic explanation for life's variety and suffering, but more importantly, it frames reincarnation not as punishment or reward, but as a natural consequence of clinging to self and desire. Modern psychologists often find resonance here, seeing reincarnation as a metaphor for how we repeat cycles of behavior until we awaken to new patterns. In this sense, Buddhist reincarnation speaks not only to metaphysics, but also to the psychology of transformation. It teaches that freedom is possible, but only when we let go of the illusion of permanence. Though reincarnation is often associated with Eastern traditions, Western thought has its own history of exploring the idea. Pythagoras, the ancient Greek philosopher, taught the doctrine of metempsychosis, the transmigration of souls, believing that rebirth was necessary for learning and purification. Plato expanded on this, describing in his Meno that learning is remembering truths known before birth, and in the myth of he portrayed souls choosing their next lives after judgment. These philosophical accounts reveal a Western fascination with continuity and justice across lifetimes. Later, early Christian sects like the Gnostics entertained reincarnation before it was declared heretical by the institutional church. The idea resurfaced in mystical writings and later in Romantic literature. Dante's Divine Comedy, while not explicitly about reincarnation, imagines a moral universe where the soul journeys through stages of transformation, echoing the same longing for cosmic justice. In modern literature, works like William Butler Yeats's poetry or James Joyce's Finnegan's Wake play with the themes of cycles, recurrence, and rebirth. Even Friedrich Nietzsche, though rejecting literal reincarnation, proposed the idea of eternal recurrence, the thought experiment of living one's life over and over again as a test of affirmation. This notion blurs the line between philosophy and myth, suggesting that reincarnation can be understood as metaphor as well as doctrine. In today's spiritual but not religious circles, reincarnation often appears as a hybrid idea, part psychological, part mystical, part philosophical. Whether taken literally or symbolically, Western thought demonstrates that the human mind across cultures wrestles with the possibility that life extends beyond one earthly existence. These echoes remind us that reincarnation is not an Eastern idea alone. It belongs to the shared human imagination. Not all interpretations of reincarnation are literal. Many traditions and thinkers view it as a metaphor for renewal and transformation. In literature, rebirth often symbolizes the ability to grow from suffering and begin again. Dante's Purgatorio is one such metaphorical landscape where souls progress upward, shedding the weight of sin in a kind of spiritual rebirth. Philosophically, Søren Kierkegaard described faith itself as a kind of rebirth where despair is transformed into hope. Likewise, Carl Jung emphasized the archetype of death and rebirth in the unconscious, framing it as an essential process of psychological integration. To Jung, reincarnation is not so much about multiple lifetimes, but about the continual renewal of the psyche within one life. This metaphorical view offers a powerful way to read reincarnation, not as supernatural doctrine, but as the story of how human beings survive and evolve through change. Every failure is a small death. Every new beginning is a reincarnation of the self. Literature and art reflect this. In Jane Eyre, Charlotte Bronte portrays Jane's life as a series of symbolic deaths and renewals, each stage shedding the old self and embracing the new. These metaphors make the abstract concept of reincarnation immediately relatable, even for skeptics. They remind us that while our physical lives may be finite, within them we are constantly reborn through love, loss, learning, and transformation. Thus, reincarnation can be appreciated both as a cosmic mystery and as an everyday reality of human experience. It bridges spirituality and psychology, offering a timeless metaphor for the resilience of life. One of the most compelling dimensions of reincarnation are the personal stories told by those who claim to remember past lives. Across cultures and generations, children especially have been reported to recall details of other identities, places, or events they should not know. Dr. Ian Stevenson, a psychiatrist at the University of Virginia, conducted decades of research into such cases, documenting thousands of children who appeared to have verifiable memories of past lives. His book, 20 Cases, suggestive of reincarnation, became a landmark study, even if skeptics argue alternative explanations such as coincidence or suggestion. These narratives often carry a profound emotional weight. Children describe tragic deaths, unfinished business, or family connections that seem to transcend time. In some cases, their memories have led investigators to specific people, places, or histories that matched. Philosophically, these stories raise questions about identity. What exactly carries over from one life to another? Is it memory, personality, or something deeper like the soul? Literature has also explored this fascination. David Mitchell's Cloud Atlas depicts characters reincarnating across centuries, carrying echoes of past selves, suggesting continuity and moral threads across lifetimes. These stories may not prove reincarnation, but they reveal a deep human intuition that our lives may not be contained within a single chapter. Whether literal or symbolic, they invite us to reflect on the mystery of memory, continuity, and identity. Even skeptics find themselves moved by the persistence of these tales because they speak to our longing for meaning that transcends death. In a way, they are less about proof and more about the deep human need for continuity of story. While stories of reincarnation are compelling, modern science approaches the subject with caution and skepticism. Neuroscience generally views consciousness as emerging from the brain, ending when the brain dies. From this perspective, reincarnation seems unlikely because it requires something beyond the physical to persist. Psychologists often explain past life memories as products of imagination, cultural influence, or false memory. Some even suggest that such memories may serve as coping mechanisms for trauma, a way of giving meaning to otherwise unexplainable suffering. Still, certain researchers remain open to the possibility that consciousness might extend beyond the body. Near-death experiences and cases of verified past life claims challenge the strict materialist model. Philosophers of mind, such as David Chalmers, describe the hard problem of consciousness, the mystery of how subjective experience arises at all, as a reminder that science cannot yet fully explain what consciousness is, let alone whether it survives death. Literature has often picked up this tension between science and mystery. Mary Shelley's Frankenstein reflects the limits of scientific power, showing that even with all knowledge, the mystery of life remains beyond full control. Similarly, modern works like Philip K. Dick's novels often blur science fiction and metaphysics, exploring the possibility that identity continues beyond one body. In today's world, this scientific skepticism keeps reincarnation in the realm of personal belief rather than established fact. But the persistence of stories, cultural traditions, and unanswered questions ensures the debate remains alive. Ultimately, science challenges us to test our assumptions while acknowledging that mystery still surrounds the deepest questions of existence. At the heart of reincarnation in Hinduism and Buddhism lies the principle of karma, the idea that actions in one life shape the circumstances of another. Karma suggests that justice is not confined to a single lifetime, but unfolds across many. This framework provides both comfort and challenge. Comfort, because it implies that goodness eventually bears fruit. Challenge, because it places responsibility on every choice we make. In Hindu texts like the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna teaches Arjuna that the soul cannot be destroyed, and one's duty should be carried out without attachment to results. Buddhism modifies this by teaching that the self is not eternal, but that karmic energy continues, influencing future existence. The Buddhist wheel of samsara illustrates this cycle: birth, death, and rebirth, until liberation is attained through enlightenment. Philosophically, this concept raises fascinating questions. Is karma a law of cosmic justice or simply a human metaphor for the moral consequences of life? Friedrich Nietzsche's idea of eternal recurrence echoes karma, suggesting that we must live as though our actions will repeat infinitely. In literature, Hermann Hesse's Siddhartha explores the intertwining of karma, suffering, and awakening, blending narrative with philosophy. The notion of karma deepens the meaning of reincarnation by tying morality to continuity, offering a moral order where actions echo far beyond the moment. For many, this transforms reincarnation into more than belief. It becomes a call to live wisely and ethically. While reincarnation is not central to Christianity, Judaism, or Islam, threads of the idea appear in surprising places. In early Christianity, some church fathers such as Origen speculated about pre-existence of souls, though the church later rejected this as heresy. Still, the theme of resurrection, central to Christianity, carries symbolic parallels to reincarnation, emphasizing transformation after death. In Judaism, particularly within Kabbalistic mysticism, the doctrine of Gilgul teaches that souls reincarnate to repair mistakes and achieve spiritual completion. This mystical view framed life as part of a vast web of spiritual correction and growth. In Islam, reincarnation is generally rejected, but certain Sufi mystics spoke metaphorically of the soul's return, emphasizing spiritual rebirth and transformation as ongoing processes. The poet Rumi, for example, wrote of dying into different forms: a stone, a plant, an animal, until returning to God, symbolizing reincarnation as a mystical cycle of union. Philosophically, these traditions remind us that even where reincarnation is not officially endorsed, the longing for continuity and moral order persists. Theologically, they challenge us to distinguish between bodily resurrection, spiritual rebirth, and reincarnation. In literature, William Blake drew upon biblical and mystical sources to weave imagery of souls returning in cycles of growth. These examples show how reincarnation, even when controversial, finds ways to resurface across Abrahamic traditions, revealing the universality of humanity's yearning for continuity. Philosophers across eras have wrestled with the possibility and meaning of reincarnation. Plato in the Republic spoke of the myth of air, where souls choose their next life based on their past deeds, linking philosophy with moral responsibility. This myth frames reincarnation as a lesson in choice, justice, and the pursuit of wisdom. Later, Schopenhauer, deeply influenced by Indian philosophy, embraced reincarnation as part of his pessimistic view of life, seeing it as endless striving within the cycle of suffering. Nietzsche offered a radical variation, the idea of eternal recurrence, where life repeats endlessly, forcing us to confront the weight of our actions. While not exactly reincarnation, this concept similarly places immense responsibility on human choices. Contemporary philosophers question whether identity could even persist across lifetimes. If memory and personality do not carry over, can we still say the same person is reborn? Literature often engages these philosophical puzzles. Jorge Luis Borges, in stories like The Immortal, explores identity, time, and endless return, asking whether continuity is blessing or curse. These reflections show that reincarnation is not only a spiritual question, but a philosophical one. What is the self, and how does it endure? By considering reincarnation, philosophers are really probing the limits of personal identity, justice, and meaning. In doing so, they expand the conversation beyond belief into the realm of critical inquiry, showing that rebirth challenges our deepest assumptions about existence. In the modern world, reincarnation is often tested against the lens of science. Neuroscience and psychology tend to explain past life memories as products of imagination, trauma, or cultural suggestion. From this perspective, reincarnation becomes less a literal truth and more a metaphor for how memory and identity evolve. Yet there are intriguing cases studied by researchers like Dr. Ian Stevenson, who documented children claiming detailed past life memories. Many of these children provided verifiable information about people who had died, sparking debate in academic and spiritual circles. Critics argue that such cases might stem from coincidence, suggestion, or selective reporting. Supporters suggest they point to mysteries science has not yet explained. Parapsychology has also investigated reincarnation alongside phenomena like near-death experiences and déjà vu. While mainstream science remains skeptical, the persistence of these reports challenges our assumptions about consciousness. Could the mind exist independently of the brain, continuing after death? The scientific study of reincarnation highlights the tension between materialist and spiritual views of life. Literature often plays with this boundary. For example, Milan Kundera's The Unbearable Lightness of Being questions whether repetition adds meaning or strips it away, echoing reincarnation's themes of continuity and weight. Ultimately, science's skepticism does not erase the human fascination with reincarnation. Instead, it forces deeper reflection. Are we searching for evidence or for reassurance that our stories never truly end? Beyond philosophy and science, reincarnation lives most vividly in personal stories. Across the world, countless individuals claim memories of past lives, often describing names, places, and events unknown to them. Some recall being soldiers, artists, or ordinary villagers in another era. These accounts, whether dismissed or believed, carry deep emotional weight for those who experience them. In Tibetan Buddhism, for example, the identification of reincarnated lamas or tulkus is central to spiritual leadership. These stories anchor entire communities in a sense of continuity and sacred destiny. In Western contexts, many find comfort in the idea that lost loved ones might return in another form, or that bonds can stretch across lifetimes. Literature often echoes these themes. Audrey Niffenegger's The Time Traveler's Wife and David Mitchell's Cloud Atlas explore love and identity across time, resonating with reincarnation's emotional appeal. From a psychological perspective, past life memories may symbolize unresolved trauma, serving as a narrative for healing. Spiritually, they may represent the soul's ongoing journey. What is striking is how these stories refuse to fade, even in rationalist cultures. They remind us that reincarnation is not just doctrine or theory, it is lived belief. Whether literal or metaphorical, these stories show humanity's enduring desire for continuity, connection, and hope beyond the boundaries of one life. For those who want to dive deeper into the mysteries of reincarnation, there are several resources worth exploring. In the realm of books, Brian L. Weiss's Many Lives, Many Masters is a landmark work blending psychotherapy with spiritual insight, offering compelling case studies of patients recalling past lives. David Mitchell's Cloud Atlas is a modern literary masterpiece, weaving six interlinked stories across different times, suggesting the continuity of souls and choices across lifetimes. For a sacred and ancient perspective, the Tibetan Book of the Dead provides ritual and philosophical guidance on death and rebirth, central to Tibetan Buddhism's view of reincarnation. Moving into the world of podcasts, Past Lives Podcast by Simon Bone offers personal stories, interviews with researchers, and discussions on reincarnation evidence. For balance, The Skeptic's Guide to the Universe provides a critical, scientific perspective, questioning claims of past life experiences while encouraging rational inquiry. Buddhist Geeks blends contemporary culture with Buddhist philosophy, often touching on the concept of rebirth in its broader context. Online, the University of Virginia Division of Perceptual Studies is a leading academic center studying reincarnation and near-death experiences, presenting carefully researched cases. The Theosophical Society's website offers historical and esoteric teachings on reincarnation, tying the idea to a larger spiritual framework. Finally, Tricycle. The Buddhist Review provides essays and interviews exploring Buddhism's nuanced views of rebirth and continuity. Each of these resources represents a different facet, scientific, spiritual, and literary, giving you multiple entry points into the reincarnation debate. Whether you seek evidence, philosophy, or inspiration, these works will enrich your understanding. As we close this exploration of reincarnation, one truth becomes clear. The belief is as much about the human condition as it is about the soul. Across cultures, from Hinduism's karmic cycle to Buddhism's liberation from rebirth, reincarnation speaks to our need for continuity and justice. In philosophy, thinkers like Nietzsche, Plato, and Kierkegaard use the idea to wrestle with time, morality, and selfhood. In literature, reincarnation has inspired imaginative works that weave identity and memory across centuries, reminding us of our longing for permanence in an impermanent world. From a scientific lens, skepticism sharpens the debate, challenging us to demand evidence while also recognizing the mysteries consciousness still holds. Personal stories keep the idea alive, offering comfort, healing, or simply wonder at the possibilities beyond this single life. Whether reincarnation is real or metaphorical, it reveals humanity's hunger for meaning that stretches beyond death. It comforts us with the possibility that our lives ripple into the future, not only in memory, but perhaps in form. It challenges us to live with integrity now, knowing that what we do may echo beyond what we see. Reincarnation may be myth, truth, or symbol, but it is never irrelevant. It remains one of the most profound expressions of hope and fear, faith and doubt. In the end, reincarnation is less about what happens after death and more about how we live in the present. The mystery remains, and perhaps that mystery is what makes life so meaningful.